Hello friends, welcome to plants, crochet, cooking and more, and if you are new to our channel, thank you for stopping by. Today I'll be sharing with you a beautiful knitting pattern, and for this pattern we need stitches in the multiple of 8 plus 2. So I have taken 8 into 5, that is 40, plus 2, 42 stitches, and I have already knitted 2 rows of rib. Now let's begin with our first row. Now this particular pattern consists of 10 rows, and this I have already started my first row, which is very simple. We just have to knit all across. So this is our first row, which is coming to an end, which is just knit all across. So this finishes our very first row. Now let's move on to the second row of the pattern. The first edge stitch is slipped off. After that I am working purl. Second row is also very simple. We just have to purl all across. So let me repeat once again. This is a 10 row pattern. So we have already finished working first and the second row. Let's move on to the third row. The edge stitch is slipped off. After that yarn forward, and I am going to work 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again yarn forward, 3 number of purl, 1, 2, 3. So this makes 8 stitches. That means 3 purl, 2 knit, 3 purl, and so this particular sequence is to be repeated all across. What we do is 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, again yarn forward, and we need to work 3 number of purl. Now yarn forward, 3 number of purl. You can count the stitches initially so that we can avoid making mistakes. So we will be repeating the sequence of these 8 stitches, that is purl 3, knit 2 and again purl 3 till the second last stitch. So here I am doing purl 3, then yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1, 2, yarn forward, 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3. So this is, we are working the third row of the 10 row pattern. Just the sequence of the 8 stitches are to be repeated. Purl 3, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 3 number of purl. That's it. Now that is the last set, that is 3 number of purl, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, yarn forward, 3 number of purl, yes, and yarn backwards. The edge stitch is going to be a knit. So this completes our third row of the pattern. Now moving on to the fourth row of the pattern. Edge stitch is slipped off. After that we just need to purl all across till the very last stitch. So the fourth row is also very simple and easy because we just need to purl all across till the very last stitch. So our fourth row is complete. Now we'll be moving ahead to the fifth row. Now let's move on to the fifth row. The edge stitch is slipped off. After that we will be working 3 number of purl, 1, 2, 3, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, yarn forward, 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3. So we have worked the 8 stitches. Now the same sequence of these 8 stitches are to be repeated. Now if you watch carefully, we are repeating the sequence of the 3rd row. This is the 5th row, but we are repeating the sequence of the 3rd row. See, purl 3, 2 number of knit, again yarn forward, 3 number of purl. You just have to work according to the stitches that are present there already. 3 number of purl, yarn backwards. See the knit pattern, you can see the knit stitches 1 and 2, yarn forward. The curly stitches, 3 number of curly stitches, that's the purl. Now we'll start off again with the fresh set, that is 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3, yarn backwards. The V stitches are there, that means knit, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 3 number of purl. So this is the sequence that we will be repeating till the second last stitch. Now that's the last set that we need to work. So if you count, we'll have 8 stitches excluding the edge stitch. Now let's work 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3. Now yarn backwards, the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So this completes our 5th row. 6th row is again super easy. The edge stitch is slipped off. After that we just need to purl all across. See, this pattern is quite easy. And so our 6th row is coming to an end. The edge stitch is also going to be a purl. So this completes our 6th row. Let us move on to the 7th row of the pattern. Now we need to watch this particular row very carefully. The edge stitch is slipped off. Nothing to panic, it's not very hard. After that we are going to work 3 number of knit, 1, 2 and 3. Now please watch carefully. We have 2 knit stitches. Now from the first stitch we'll take into consideration. Now see, let's count the holes, 3, 4. Yes, the 4th hole we are going to put the needle and pull up a loop, a slightly loose loop. After that we work on the hole that is above it, and once we pull up the loop we are going to bring the back stitch in the front. Once that is done, we are going to work in the 2nd loop from the base and again pull up a loop and bring the old 2 stitches in front of it, but we will not pass it over completely. After that we will work on the topmost hole and then pull up a loop. Now you'll see we have 3 stitches which are bundled together behind the first stitch, and now we will take the 3 stitches and pass it over the first stitch. Once that is done, we work a knit. Now again the knit stitch is there, the 2nd one. Now we'll count the holes, 2, 3 and 4. On the 4th hole we'll pass the right needle and pull up a considerably loose loop. Then just above it on the 3rd hole we are going to pull up a loop, and what we do is we'll bring the stitch which is behind, or the loop which is behind, in front. After that again we'll pull up a loop just above the previous hole and again pull up a loop, and that we have to do 4 times. Once the 4th or the last loop is pulled up, you will see that we have 3 stitches huddled up together. Now the 3 stitches are to be passed over the first stitch, and so if you watch carefully our leaf is formed. After that we do a knit. Now again we will be working 3 number of knit, 1, 2 and 3. Once that is done, we will start off again with the 2nd set. Let's work 3 number of knit, 1, 2 and 3, and once we reach the 2 stitches, the ladder like stitches, we are going to count the holes and pass a needle through the 4th hole and pull up a loop which is considerably loose. After that we are going to pull up a loop from the hole which is just above it, and then we will bring the stitch which is behind in the front, but we will not pass it over completely. See, just in the front we will bring and then put it back again. And finally on the 4th or the topmost hole we are going to work, we'll pull up a loop. After that you will see that we have 3 stitches on the right needle that has to be passed over the first stitch. After that a knit, so a leaf is formed. Now if we count the holes, on the 4th hole we will pass the needle and pull up a loop. Once that is done, we will pass the right needle again into the 3rd hole and pull up a loop, and then bring that loop in front, and then again on the 2nd hole we will pull up a loop. Now we'll bring the stitches which are at the back in the front, and now we will pass a right needle to the topmost hole and pull up a loop. Once that is pulled up, you will see that we have 3 stitches all huddled up together. Now that has to be passed over the first stitch, so that makes our leaf pattern. After that a knit. Now again I am going to work 3 number of knit according to the pattern, 1, 2, 3. After that we'll start off with a fresh pattern, 1, 2 and 3 knit till we reach the 2 stitches where we have to work the leaves by passing a needle through the 4th hole in the very beginning. See, now if you count the holes, 1, 2, 3 and 4, in goes the right needle, pulling up a loop, a considerably loose one, then the needle goes into the 3rd hole again. After that we pull up a loop and the back stitch is brought in the front but is not passed over it. Similarly, the right needle is passed through the 2nd hole and we pull up a loop, and the back stitch is again brought in the front. Now finally we pull up a loop in the very first hole, from the very first hole. Once that is done, we pass the 3 stitches huddled together over the first stitch. After that a knit. Now we are going to work the leaf pattern again. So let's start off by counting the holes. The right needle goes into the 4th hole, pulling up a loop. After that the right needle goes into up a loop, the back stitch comes in front. After that the needle goes again into the 2nd hole, and then we pull up a loop and the back stitches are passed over it and put back again. And finally the right needle goes into the 1st hole or the topmost hole, then we pull up a loop, and then the 3 stitches are passed over the first stitch, and then again a knit. After that we work 3 number of knit. Again starting off with the fresh pattern, working 3 number of knit, and now we are going to make the leaves again by passing the needle through the 4th hole in the beginning, then through the 3rd hole. See, the right needle goes through the 3rd hole, we pull up a loop and the back stitch is brought in the front. After that the needle is passed through the 2nd hole, again we pull up a loop, the stitches which are behind is again pulled in the front, and similarly the right needle is passed through the topmost hole and a loop is pulled up, and then the 3 stitches which are behind are passed over it finally. After that a knit. And see, here I am working another leaf. The process is same. Once you do it, you will see it is not tough. So this brings us nearly to the end of this particular row. This is the 7th row that we are working. So this is how our pattern is looking right now. Now we need to work the last leaf, for which the right needle goes into the 4th hole. We pull up a loop. Now again the right needle goes into the third hole, we pull up a loop, and the stitch which is behind comes in the front. Again we pull up a loop from the second hole, the stitches which are behind is brought in the front, and finally we pull up a loop from the topmost hole. Now the three stitches that are huddled up together, will be brought in the front, and it is passed over, then a knit, and again we are going to work the leaf in the similar manner by passing our right needle through the fourth hole, the third hole, the second and the first. Similarly, the way we have been doing till now. So once you work the leaf, you will see that it is not tough. After that a knit, and then 3 number of knit, and the final edge stitch is also going to be a knit. So this completes our 7th row. Let's move on to the 8th row. The edge stitch is slipped out. After that we work 4 number of purl. Then if we turn and see, that's the stitch where we have worked the leaf, and that stitch is just slipped off. After that a purl, again the stitch where we have made the leaf, that is slipped off into the next needle. After that we are working purl. So similarly in this way we have to purl all the stitches excluding the stitches where we have worked the leaf, that has to be slipped off. It is easy to identify the stitch because it is a bit bumpy type. If you see, the other stitches are not so bumpy, but the stitches where we have worked the leaf are a little different to watch, and if you have confusion in that, you can just turn your work to the right side and check. So basically it is purl in all the stitches excluding the stitches where we have worked the leaf. I think this way it will be easy for you to understand rather than counting the purl and the slip. So what we did in the 8th stitch is purl all the stitches excluding the slipped stitches. Let's move on to the new row, that is the 9th row. The edge stitch is slipped off, and here a little bit of shifting is to be done. That is, we will be taking the 4 stitches into consideration. The 3 stitches which are in the front is to be taken back, and the 4th stitch is to be brought in the front. Now we will knit the 2 stitch together. After that we are going to knit. All the stitches is going to be knit as the second, the third. After that, now what we do is the stitches which are behind that extended stitch, the 4 stitches are to be brought in the front. So we are going to collect the 4 stitches from the back of the work and remove the first stitch, which is that extended stitch, and take it at the back side. And now we will put back our 4 stitches into the left needle. Then we are going to work knit. 1, 2, these are all knit. 3. Once that is done, now 2 stitches are left, the extended stitch and 1 knit stitch, that has to be knitted together. So see, our pattern is coming into shape. Now after that, again the 3 stitches which are in the front is to be taken at the back, and the 4th stitch, which is that extended loop sort of stitch, that has to come in the front, and 3 stitches has to be moved backwards. Now what we do is the 2 stitches, the front long stitch and the second stitch is to be knitted together. After that we work 1, 2, 3 number of knit, and now again the shifting has to take place. That is, the 4 stitches behind that extended stitch has to come in the front. So we are collecting the 4 stitches from the back side of the work, and we are going to take it off the needle and take the first stitch behind and put back the 4 stitches in front. After that we are going to work 3 number of knit, 1, 2 and 3. Now the extended stitch and the other stitch we are going to knit together. So this is how this particular row is to be worked. The sequence is quite easy. The extended stitch, the 4th one, comes in the front and we move the 3 stitches behind. So in order to do that, we are shifting the stitches into the left needle and the 4th stitch comes in the front. Once it comes in the front, we are going to work the 2 stitches together, knit from the back side. Yes, it has to be done from the back side. After that we are going to knit 1, 2 and 3 knit. Now again the shifting, that is the 4 stitches, has to be collected from the back and has to be brought in front of that extended stitch. Let's do that. Now carefully we will remove the stitches from the needle and take the first stitch behind and put all the 4 stitches in front of it. Now we are going to work 3 number of knit, that's the second and the third. Now the 2 stitches, the extended loop stitch and the other stitch, we have to knit together. So see, our pattern is already forming and this is a beautiful pattern. It will be perfect for boys cardigans, gents cardigan, and if you wish to knit cardigans for the winter that is coming up, you can use some coarse yarn and make some beautiful cardigans for yourself to wear this winter. So this particular row is about to end. Doing the final shifting, that is the 4 stitches has to be brought in front of that long loop sort of stitch. Once the stitches are put back into the left needle, we are going to work 3 number of knit, 1, 2 and 3. Now the 2 stitches we work together from the front and the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So this completes our 9th row. See how beautiful the pattern is looking. Let's move on to the 10th row. Edge stitch is slipped off. After that we are just working purl. It has to be worked in the same manner till the very last stitch. So this is the 10th row and this completes our first set of pattern. Now see, this is how our pattern is looking right now. Isn't it beautiful? Well, I'm loving it. Now as I wish the beginners also to try this pattern, I'm going to show the pattern once again, starting off with the first row, which is going to be a simple knit. So our first row comes to an end. This is a 10 row pattern and stitches have to be taken in the multiple of 8 plus 2. Moving on to the second row, which is also equally easy. The first stitch is slipped off. After that it is going to be purl all across. So here the second row also comes to an end. This is how our pattern is looking. Let's move on to the third row, for which the edge stitch is to be slipped off. After that we work 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1, 2, yarn forward and 3 number of purl. Now if you count the stitches that we have worked excluding the edge stitch, you will see that we have 8 stitches. And now this particular sequence is to be repeated. But once the first pattern is done, it will be easy for us. We don't have to keep counting. We just need to work purl, and in the place where the pattern has been formed earlier, there we need to knit 2 stitches. So what we do basically is 3 number of purl and 2 number of knit. If you see the pattern, you will understand where you need to work the knit. After that, 3 number of purl. So here I am working 1, 2 and 3 number of purl, yarn backwards. See there, that's the point where 2 number of knit we had worked earlier. So similarly we are going to do the same. After that, yarn forward, 3 number of purl, and the edge stitch is going to be a knit. See, there's a repetition of the pattern. Now let's move on to the 4th row, which is very easy. That is, we just need to purl all across. So here this row comes to an end. Moving on to the new row. Let's start off with the 5th row, which is again the repetition of the 3rd one. The edge stitch is slipped off. After that, yarn forward, 3 number of purl, 1, 2 and 3. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again yarn forward, 3 number of purl, 1, 2, 3. Now if you count the stitches, we have worked 8 stitches. That is to be repeated. That is 3 number of purl, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again yarn forward, 3 number of purl. So this is the sequence of the 5th row, and in the similar fashion we are going to work right till the end, and the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So this completes our 5th row. Let's move ahead to the 6th row. The edge stitch is slipped off. After that, the 6th row is very simple. We just need to purl all across. So that's it. The 6th row comes to an end. Moving on to the 7th row, where we need to work the leaves. So for working the leaf, what we do is we do 3 number of knit, then we make the leaf. And for making the leaf, we have to reach the point where there are 2 number of knits. And our right needle goes into the 4th hole, we pull up a loop. Again the right needle goes into the 3rd hole, we pull up a loop. And the stitch which is in the 2nd position is brought in the front. Again, what we do here is we pull up a loop, and again the stitches that are behind is brought in the front, but it is not passed over it. When finally the right needle is passed through the topmost hole and a loop is pulled up, then the 3 stitches which are huddled up together is brought in front of the working stitch. After that, a knit. And similarly we are going to work another leaf in the stitch that is there, the knit stitch, and we are pulling up a loop. Once the loop is pulled, the stitch that is behind is brought in the front. Again a loop is pulled in the from the hole, actually just above it. Similarly, this is to be continued 4 times. That is, the loops have to be pulled up from 4 points or holes, and then finally the 3 stitches are passed over the first stitch, and we do a knit and finish the pattern. So this is how it is going to look now after the leaf pattern is done. Now let's move on to the 8th row. The edge stitch is slipped off. After that we work 4 number of purl. Then we are going to slip the stitch out. We are just going to pass it into the right needle, and that stitch is the stitch where the leaf has been formed. After that we work a purl and again slip the stitch where the leaf has been formed. So basically it is purl, in all the stitches excepting the stitch where the leaves have been worked. If you just look at the stitches, it is easy to identify because those stitches where the leaf has been worked looks a bit different from the other stitches. So our 8th row has come to an end. So what we did is purl in all the stitches excepting the stitches where the leaf has been worked. Those have just been slipped into the right needle without working. So our 8th row is complete. Now moving on to the 9th row. And in the 9th row there is going to be shifting of stitches. The edge stitch is slipped off. After that extended stitch or the lengthy stitch we are going to bring in the front, and the 3 stitches we are going to move behind. So we have to shift the stitches. Once the shifting is done, now we are going to take the 2 stitches and work them together, the extended stitch as well as the other stitch beside it, and we are going to work the stitches together. Yes, that is from the back side. Then we are going to work knit, 3 number of knit. Once that is done, again we are going to do the shifting, that is 4 stitches from behind has to be brought in front of that extended stitch. So we are collecting the stitches from the back portion and gently will remove the front extended stitch and bring it backwards and shift the 4 stitches into the left needle. Once the shifting is done, we are going to work 3 number of knit, 1, 2 and 3, and finally the 2 stitches has to be worked together from the front. Yes, so this is the sequence for this 9th row. Once that is done, straight away again we have to start off with the shifting of the next pattern which is beside it. That is, the 3 stitches will go behind that extended stitch. That extended stitch is the point where the leaves had been formed. So the 3 stitches are being moved back and the extended stitch or the leaf stitch is being brought in the front. Now we are going to take the 2 stitches together and work a knit from the back. After that, 3 number of knit, 1, 2 and 3. Once that is done, again the shifting, that is 4 stitches we are going to bring in the front of the extended leaf stitch. Back goes the leaf stitch. Now we are going to work 3 number of knit, 1, 2 and 3. After that, the 2 stitches are going to be worked together from the front. So this is how we need to work this particular 9th row, and I have shown you the sequence. It should not be a problem. I have repeatedly explained as I have worked so that you can understand. So working the last set, the 4 stitches needs to come forward in front of the extended leaf stitch. So here comes the 4 stitches in the front, and I am putting it back into the left needle so that it can be worked. Now I am going to work 3 number of knit, that's the second, this is the third, and now the 2 stitches needs to be worked together from the front. The edge stitch is going to be a simple knit. So the 9th row comes to an end. See how beautiful the pattern is looking. Let's work the final row or the 10th row. Edge stitch is slipped off, and this row is very easy. We just need to purl all across. So here the 10th row is about to end. This is how our pattern is looking. See how beautiful it looks. I have worked 2 sets of pattern so that it will not be difficult for you to understand. So my dear friends, I hope you all will try this pattern out in your future projects. If you all have liked it, do give a thumbs up, do share it with your friends and family members, and if you are new to our channel, do consider subscribing and stay tuned for more of interesting videos. So till we meet again, it is bye bye from all of us here at Plants, Crochet, Cooking and More.